Hello there. Today I got a tricky puzzle for you. It is white to move and win, so you can pause the video to find the answer on your own. Okay, so as you can see right now, black can now move because of this rook on b8, and this pawn is moving downwards. Now, there are possibilities for black to sacrifice the rook and try to stalemate the game because, black cannot move. So he only needs to, get rid of the rook, and it's going to be a stalemate. But it is white to move. So try to figure out the answer. Actually, there are two ways to win this, but there is the best way. All right. So now we're going to start with the first move. You can play rook to b6, but it's a little bit longer, so it's better to play just queen to h6. Now, what is the point of this move? The point of this move that black can play many checks, but we are prepared. For example, black can play this move rook to f8 check. Of course, we cannot take. The king is stalemated. So now we move the king up to c7. Here, black can play another check if he wants to, or he can take here. Now, if black takes and you take back, you're thinking, oh, you're definitely winning this. There's a queen against the pawn. White is winning. No, white is not winning. This is a draw. The reason it's a draw because this king got to move somewhere else. And it doesn't matter how many checks you play because at the end, black will be able to either push the pawn or stalemate the game. So he's going to keep trying. After this check, we're going to keep trying, but we're never going to get the win. Now, this strategy works, but only if the pawn was on b2, c2, d2, e2, f2, and g2, but not on the corners. On the corners, this technique of giving the checks, forcing the king away. Like if the king went here, this is winning. But if the king went to the corner like here or to h1 and the pawn is there, this is a draw. We cannot win this. So that's why that technique does not work. And we cannot take the rook. But here it is still winning, but we don't take the rook. We play queen c1 check. Black has to block with the rook. Now we play check on c3. Still, he has to block with the rook. Now, as you can see right now, the rook cannot move because it's pinned. The pawn cannot move because it's in front of the king. So now, the only piece that can move is the king. So what do? We play the queen d4. The idea here that nothing can move except the king. We're forcing black to go here, and then checkmate on d1. It's a really cool one. But after queen to h6, he gives this check, and we don't take it, and we play this, and he doesn't take. What's going to happen if you play the check, though? Rook f7. Well, now we move the rook to b6, the king to b6. This check is not possible because we can take with a check. This check is bad because we can just take it, and we still have a lot of pieces to win this. Now, the top engine move here is to play rook c7. Still trying to allow white to take this and stalemate the game, but of course we're not supposed to take the rook. So what do? This check is not possible because of the rook going there. We don't have any kind of a good checks right here, I guess. We have this check, but the king goes to b2. Then we take here. It's going to be a longer one, but it's still winning, 100% winning. Okay. So, other than rook to f8, which leads to king here, rook c7, and king here, and then after that, we just play check, and we win the rook, and that's good. But what about rook c4 check? What do we do about this move? Well, now here, we play king b7. Now, there are many ways for black to keep, harassing the king. For example, there is rook c7, which is annoying, but then we go king to b6, the exact same move order, but then black has to make a move. He plays rook c2, and then we play here. We can play queen e3 if you want to. I think queen e3 is the best move. Try to give this check, try to force him up, and then we move the king to get the rook into the game, but this is still winning. Okay, so after this check, in king to b7, what if black played rook to b4 check? Now here, actually, believe it or not, the top engine move and the best move here is to play king c6. sacrificing the rook. Now, because if black takes, you remember the solution of this one. Check. Black has to block with the rook. Check here, and queen to d4. Forcing black to move the king, and queen d1 will be checkmate. That's why taking the rook will not help. What about rook b6? Rook b6 is winning, but we don't take with the rook, of course. We take with the king. Okay, is there any more checks? Well, there is rook c4 check. Okay, now we play king b5. This check is not possible. We can take. But what about this check? We cannot take with the king. That opens up the rook, and the king will be stalemated. Here we play king to b6. Now we moved back. This check is not possible. This check is not possible because we can take with the queen. So now black has to go back here, and then we have a check. Black moves up, and then we get the king into the game. And this is pretty much easy. Because the king has to move up, we're gonna give a check, and we'll be able to stop the pawn. And thank you for watching.